You just had to procrastinate and be depressed enough that the guide won't be out until 7.1. And now you have to incorporate the new stuff. Speaking of which, 2 charges of Ley Lines, instant cast Despair, Black Mage is fixed? Trick question. It was never broken. We only get stronger. Some people were speculating that Flare Star may end up instant cast too because Yoshi P didn't cast it for whatever reason during the push fight. Okay, put down the copium, you had enough hits, he casted it during COD Chaotic. It's not happening. Despite that, Despair being instant cast is a much bigger game changer than you think. One of the biggest complaints that I ended up having with Dawntrail Black Mage, as well as many others who came to me, was that Fire Stance would be easily dropped before Despair could go off. Isolated when you're fighting your FC Lawn striking dummy, this should never happen. But in an actual duty, so many factors can cause that, and it's very common. Movement, clipping, downtime, etc., even early in a fire line, can cause that GCD to be pushed down, which leaves you with not enough time to cast Despair safely. And with how Black Mage works, given that cast times are usually longer than the recast time, the GCD is already pushed down enough. If you're running low spell speed, the risk of error is only greater. It's why instant casts are as valuable as they are. Not only do they just feel comfortable and let you move, it actually buffs your DPS by providing more potency per second. The GCD being pushed back less means more spells you can cast down the line and fit into a fight. So that's had me thinking, why exactly is Despair such a problem now? Ignoring Flare Star, the rotation is the same as it was in Endwalker. 3 to 4 Fire 4s, Paradox, the remaining Fire 4s, Despair. But this issue of people dropping their stances before Despair can go off wasn't a problem before. Why now? Well, I got the answer. It's Paradox. While Paradox turning into an instant cast spell feels great, it's the primary cause as to why Despair doesn't get to finish more often than not. How Paradox works is that when it deals damage, it refreshes your current stance. In Endwalker, this was casted, which meant that the damage would go out at the end of the cast. You'd then begin casting your following Fire 4 starting at the full 15 seconds of Astral Fire. In Dawntrail, now that Paradox is instant, the damage is applied at the start of the GCD, meaning 2.5 seconds are rolling by and you then cast that following Fire 4 with 13 to 12 seconds of Astral Fire instead. But Kit, with Paradox being instant, you can cast 4 Fire 4s without needing to use it, even 5 with high spell speed, so it shouldn't actually be a problem. Ah, but Paradox isn't the only spell that was originally a cast that turned into an always instant cast. Yep, our lovely friend Thunder is to blame to... Why is Flare Star here? Oh shit, it is Flare Star. As crazy as it is, turns out adding another fire spell, making fire lines longer, and keeping Thunder as a 30-second damage over time in the endgame has quite the domino effect. In Endwalker, the rotation added up to around 30 seconds, even with having Thunder 3 as an instant cast always, by forever proccing it with Sharp Cast. It would have a somewhat consistent reapply point during Ice Phase. In fact, it was expected with how MP gain worked before, where you needed the 4th GCD in Umbral Ice to have your MP come back through server ticks. Now in Dawntrail, the entire rotation is even longer. Adding every spell together, it takes about 37 seconds. 7 seconds longer than the damage over time even lasts. This means that Thunder is reapplied earlier every single rotation, having a different point each time and resulting in it being applied during Fire Phase more often. When you pair this up with the problems Instant Fire Paradox is causing and adding another instant cast GCD that cuts into the AF timer, you can see how it piles up and results in... And now we see the benefit that this one change will bring. An instant cast Despair. No more dropping stance. Movement and more DPS from it alone. You can even weave in a swift cast after and throw out an instant Flare Star, putting out more DPS and preventing the GCD from being pushed out further. Hell, use it as an excuse to dump your MP early on those oh shit moments. And Despair giving that opportunity to weave in swift cast for Flare Star adds some familiarity as you use a swift cast Flare as a single target finisher before level 72. Yeah, Shadowbringers gave us Despair as a response to that. We could talk about how Flare Star is a bad milestone spell. It's not. Or Thunder Drift is bad. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. Extend High Thunder to 40 seconds? It's so getting deleted in 8.0. But I believe that this one change to Despair will end up making the job feel even better. And I was already singing its praises for the 7.05 changes. Made a video on that, actually. So I'm real excited. Now let's get into the other upcoming change. The 2 charge Ley Lines. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know how to feel about it. It's weird. It looked cool, don't get me wrong, at first. And then I thought more about it and I kept asking myself, why? One of the glaring things I noticed about it is despite being 2 charges, both charges are on a 2-minute cooldown. So what does this mean? If we use both Ley Lines back to back, this means both charges for back-to-back usage won't be up for 4 fucking minutes. That ain't happening. And I'm afraid of how much of a noob trap it's going to be. Okay, so then what's the point? I had to really rattle my brain and think about what the devs intended here, yet it made me just ask further. Is the intention, as a backup Ley Lines in case you misplace it and retrace too? Why not add a second charge to retrace? To use Ley Lines every 1 minute? Why not shorten the cooldown to 60 seconds? Same as above, but prevent drifting? Then why not shorten the cooldown to 40 seconds? At this point, you may as well just bring back 90-second Ley Lines. It might just be possible that the devs also considered all 3 options as a possibility, and maybe this was the easiest way to implement it. That's the best way I can justify it. Maybe it's just one of those things where I'm not supposed to think about it for too long, or I'm just gonna get a headache. For the sake of DPS, using a Ley Lines every minute will end up being the go-to. If this is the case, paired with Despair being instant and the ability to swift cast Flare Stars easier, Black Mage will be getting a damage increase without any actual potency buffs. That's pretty exciting. Maybe it'll get people to just shut up because holy hell is it so annoying seeing Black Mage still get so much shit just because Pictomancer is overtuned and the devs just want to pretend it isn't. Black Mage tastes so good when you don't have a bitch in your ear telling you it's bad. Okay, some final things here. Black Mage Guide is still being worked on, but it's definitely near complete. The script just needs some more additions to optimizations, and with 7.1 on the way, I figured it was best to wait until afterwards, and I'm glad I did, because these changes are definitely going to be important to bring up. Speaking of, I already theory crafted an opener for 7.1 that I may as well share, at least to make up for how long the guide has been taking since I promised it. The benefit to it is that I've been cooking up a few variations of it based on recast time, the best when needing high spell speed, but with the instant cast Despair, you should be able to use the highest DPS opener I made at any spell speed now. And if you have looked at the opener I made before and you're already pretty familiar with it, then don't worry, this will still feel pretty familiar because all I did was just swap the Xenoglossy and Despair placements. Anyways, moving on. Open with Fire 3 at 4 seconds of the countdown. Pull with High Thunder. Weave in Triple Cast. Fire 4. Use Amplifier. Fire 4. Use an Int Pot. Fire 4. Put down Ley Lines. Cast Fire 4. Instant Despair. Your second Triple Cast. Xenoglossy. Use Mana Font. Fire 4. Weave in that Swift Cast. Fire 4. Flare Star. Fire 4. Cast Fire 4. Paradox, refresh High Thunder, 2 more casted Fire 4s, Xenoglossy right before the pot runs out, Despair. I'll add this opener image in the description so you can save it yourself. It's made with 2.42 second recast in mind, as that's the slowest at eye level 730 and Omnicaster compatible. I may have a bias for Speed Mage, but I'm not a monster. I'll add the spell spreadsheet I made too in the description so you can take a look at it. I'll update it for 7.1 when needed, but here's hoping I won't have to. Please, Yoshi P, the potencies are fine. I don't want to have to redo all the formulas again!